Okay, let's go. Let's go. So, morning. What I want to do today is really just have a little bit of a look at Sarah, at how Sarah presents herself in one little story that happens in the parsha. We now in um, Perek Tet Zayin. So that's 16, chapter 16, verse 1. Pasuk Aleph. It says here, "V'sarai eshet Avram lo yalda lo, v'la shivcha mitzvah shma Hagar." So this is the story of Abraham getting Hagar as a wife, as a person, as a woman through which he can have this child that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had promised just before. Because just before, Hashem had said that your zaracha, your seed will inherit the earth, but he hasn't got any children. So now Sarah, who is the wife of Avram, lo yalda lo, she hasn't given him any children yet, and she has a shivcha, she has a maidservant, an Egyptian maidservant whose name is Hagar. Now the question is, who was this Hagar actually? Where does this woman come from? And you have to ask that question because it can't be that Sarah would simply give, like anybody, over to her husband, and through whom to have a child. So Rashi says, who was the shivcha mitzvit? Was Bat Paro Hayata. So when this daughter of Paro saw the incredible nisim, the incredible miracles that were done to the to Sarah, so what? Amar mutav shetaheh biti shivcha v'bayit zeh v'loi gevira v'bayit acher. He says, so the king said, I'd rather my daughter was a maidservant in the house of Sarah than being a big balabosta in any other place. In other words, he recognized that there was something very special about her and something special about the household she came from. And so therefore he felt that it was better for her, and therefore he gives her to Sarah as a slave. So this is a woman that comes from royalty. And so because she comes from royalty, it would seem appropriate for Sarah to give this royal woman to her husband, through whom to create the next generation of those connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in such a profound way. What is important is that many people say that it was the daughter of Paro who chose herself to go with Sarah, but it's not. It's that he chose to give her for her to go with Sarah, which will come out a little bit later in the story, and we'll see that where it happens. Now, Thomas Sarai al Avram, Sarah says to Avram, "Inena atzarani Adonai miledes, Hashem has stopped me from giving birth. Bona el shivchasi, be with my maidservant, ulai baneh mimena, and maybe I will build through her. So because she's my shivcha, she's my property, so whatever comes out of her will belong to me." Vayishma Avram l'kol Sarah, and Avraham listened to the voice of Sarah. There was no question whether he would do
something. Do you think that perhaps the intention of Paro was to give it like as a maidservant, but through that, then she could maybe give her over to be like the start of a new nation through Abraham? Like, do you think that there was perhaps something
and that's Paro's intention?
Yeah, that it was perhaps
it could be maybe even like an alliance of some sort.
Yeah, but like, and she was also a beautiful woman. So like, you
well,
thought maybe
we don't know. Nowhere does it say anything about her beauty.
Okay.
Don't know. Okay. We don't know.
And so like the arrangement wasn't so kosher. I don't know. Maybe, or am I like?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm just pointing it out that it's in a way a forced relationship from the father to the daughter. Now you have Sarah giving her over to Avram, which might be in a way. Remember, he's like Melech HaOlam at that point in time. He's the king of the world. He's recognized by everybody as the man you go to get brochas, the man, he's incredibly wealthy, he's everything. So for Hagar, it's probably quite a step up that she's now going to be engaging with Avram, and she's going to be his wife for all intents and purposes. And that's what it says here. Look how the next pasuk unpacks it. Vatikach Sarai eshet Avram. So Sarai, the wife of Avram, takes Hagar mitzvit shivchata, Hagar the Egyptian, her maidservants, Bikeit Eser Shanim, after 10 years, Lashevet Avram be'eretz Canaan, after they've lived for 10 years in Canaan, Vatiten otala Avram, and she gives her to Avram Isha her husband, lo, to him, leisha, as a wife. And the Psuk and the Mefarshim point out that it could have just said Vatite notala Avraham leisha, but they point out that in her eyes she was still a maidservant, but for Avraham it was Avraham's wife, and we'll see how that unpacks itself out in a couple of psukim. Because of Vayavo el Hagar, Vatahar, so Avraham and Hagar come together. She falls pregnant. The Chazal say on the first time that they're together. She saw she'd fallen pregnant. And her I don't know, her matron, the woman that was her owner, meaning Sarah, she became light in her eyes. And they explain the reason why is because here it is that Sarah has been trying with Avraham Avinu all this time, and she's with him once, she falls pregnant. So obviously it must be B'derech Nes, says the Netziv, and so therefore she was worthy of a Nes, whereas Sarah was not worthy of a Nes. It must be that she's greater than Sarah, and therefore a whole relationship with Sarah switches. And then something unbelievable happens. Vatomer Sarai el Avram, Chamasi alecha anochi natati shivchati b'chaikecha. Says Chamasi alecha. Hamas. Now remember, the word Hamas is the most terrible, terrible word. It's a word that is the reason for the destruction of the world. So she uses this word Hamas, which we understand is a type of violent theft, a violent robbery, right? She says Chamasi alecha. My Hamas is on you. And I gave you my shivcha, the teira ki arasa. Now she's pregnant. Ve'ekel beinea, and now I'm now become light in her eyes. Yishpot Adonai beni uvenecha. Kodesh Baruch Hu has to give judgment now between us. Like Avram el Sarai. Avram's like, doesn't know what to say here. He says, Hinei shivchatech biyadech. Yeah, your maidservant, you take her back. Asila hatov beinayich. Do whatever you think is good. She's your shivcha. She's my wife, as we said, but she's your shivcha, she's your maidservant. So therefore, do whatever you want to do. Vata'aneha Sarai. And Sarai really ta'aneh. It's the same word that is used to describe the inuyim that we have on Yom Kippur. It's the same word that's described the way the Egyptians treated us. Vata'aneha Sarai. Vativrach mipanea. And she flees from her. And it's this passage which really presents us with a very difficult situation. This one and the one before. Let's understand. Rashi says, and I'm trying to understand what Sarah has she comes so aggressively towards Avram. V'chamasi alecha, says says Rashi, Chamas asui li alecha ani matil onish. Says, that the Hamas, this negative thing that was hasui alecha, that should have been on you, ani matil onish. I am now receiving the punishment. Why? Because whatever you were deserving, whatever should have happened to you, I'm getting. Why? Because she's palalta la kadosh baruch hu ma titein. Because when you daven to Hashem and you said, Hashem, what are you going to give me? Ani alech ariri, I'm barren, I don't have any children. Lo hitpalalta ela alecha. You only davened on you for yourself. It's unbelievable. We're talking about Sarah speaking to Avraham, and she says to Avraham, when you davened that we should have a child, you didn't daven for me. You only davened for yourself. You should have davened for both of us. And I would have been remembered together with you. So Sarah comes and says to Avraham, it wasn't okay what you did. And it's very hard to understand, and I think there's a lot in this. But Sarah says to him, it wasn't okay. You were supposed to have davened for both of us. But you didn't daven, you only davened for yourself. And if you had davened for both of us, this is how powerful the tefillah of Avraham was. If you had davened for both of us, then we would have been the ones who would have been zocheh to have the child. But instead, you davened just for yourself. So even though you're a very old man, come together with this woman, you have a child because you davened, and therefore, I've got a major faribal against you. Can you imagine the way she's thinking about this? Va'od. And not only that, not only is it the fact that you didn't daven for me, but you're hearing the way Hagar is speaking about me, and you're keeping quiet. You're not doing a thing. So it's clear that Sarah sees her position. as the primary wife, rightfully, it would seem. And she gives it on, she gives him on his head like it's unbelievable, right? So then Rashi carries on. It says, I gave you my maidservant, and it's supposed to be my child. It says, wherever it says beinecha, sorry, not banach, wherever it says beinecha, beini uveinecha, throughout the Torah, it's always written chaser, it's missing that yud. V'zeh malei kariba beinecha, and this is beini uveinecha. Listen to this. Listen to this. What is Beinu Beinecha? It's complete Beinecha completely. What she does is she puts an ayin hora on Hagar, v'hipila ubra. And what happens? She has a miscarriage. Hu she'malach omer l'Hagar hinecha hara v'lo kfar harata. So that is why later on, when she runs away, the pasuk says, he finds Hagar and he says to Hagar, says to this angel, what's going on? I've run away because of Sarah. Says, go back. It'll be okay. Even though. If she's going to make it difficult for you, you will become pregnant and you will have a child. And Rashi says, why? Because Sarah caused her to have a miscarriage. So the Torah tells us, Rashi tells us that she had this first miscarriage, and that's why the angel announces to her that she is going to have a child. Now, can you imagine now the relationship that exists between Hagar and Sarah? The Ramban says very, very strong words. He says that it's because of what Sarah did to Hagar that for all generations there will be an issue between the children of Hagar, i.e. Yishmael, and Bnei Yisrael. It's all her fault, which is quite unbelievable. But I need to finish. I know we don't have much more time, but I need to finish the Netziv, because the Netziv points out that it's very difficult to say that Sarah did something so terrible. I mean, we're talking about Sarah Imenu. We're not talking about some over emotional person who feels like there's that hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. That doesn't seem to fit with Sarah, who Sarah is. So it comes along the Netziv, and the Netziv says that whilst it seems to be that the anhaga, that the behavior of Sarah is not in the appropriate way, nonetheless, we find in the Midrash that Rabbi Yochanan says that Sarah is compared to an egla tamima, to a complete egla, complete calf. What does he mean? That he says that it doesn't make sense if she did something so wrong. She said, we understand what? That Sarah, that Sarah understood that the fact that Hagar was now seeing Sarah as a little bit less in her eyes, even though the fact that Hagar, he wants to say, was with Sarah and she had a complete Yirat Hashem, when she saw that she was being makil, that Sarah was becoming like lesser in her eyes, she realized that what it also meant for Hagar, who was supposed to be the woman that would be the one who was going to bring up a child who was going to be the next generation for Avraham Avinu, it was also a kula for her, what? The kavod shamayim, the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so therefore, because of that, she understood that she had to do something. And what she had to do is she had to try and push her to understand that she needs to move out of this space where she felt that she was better than Sarah. And Sarah is this woman who has this incredible relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so Hagar has to understand that she's got to get back into her place, not because of Sarah, says the Netziv, but rather because it has to be that Hagar has the appropriate Yirat Hashem. There's a lot more in it, but I think it's important that we understand that it's not, that the story is not so simple. That it's not just the thing where Sarah was nasty, but what Sarah seems to embed, according to the Ramban at least, embed within the psyche of the children of Hagar is a somewhat animus. I think that like a relationship filled with animosity, a relationship filled with belligerence against the children of Sarah because of what Sarah did to their mother. And it's quite difficult to get that. But it is what it is, and from there we're learning that even that's what it means. Masi avot siman labanim, that the behavior of our avot, of our forefathers, both our avot and our imahot, have great impact on us going forward into the future. And that's why these parshas become so beautiful to read, because they teach us how they behaved. We learn the lessons of what to do, and of course, every now and then we also learn the lessons of what not to do. Have a wonderful Shabbos, everybody. And please God, we'll continue on Monday.